I've got Bowser in my party. There's a ton of awesomely hilarious characters. I'm digging this so far. Damn, this is fun! I'm combining my joy of Mario action platforming with the strategy of RPGs, timing jumps, throwing fire everywhere, using an amazing sorcerer. I can't find any misses with this. Well, that battle music isn't the greatest, but the action is so good. Who cares? Oh man. Yeah, that's really getting repetitive. Oh, maybe there's like a secondary battle theme that'll show up in the last half of the game or something. Here I am. I'm almost at Smithy. It's the final dungeon. I know they're gonna change the music up here. It's gonna be dramatic, more high intensity. It's gonna start really kicking ass. The dungeon music is so moody. Oh yes, it's gonna happen. I can feel it. Bring it! Oh! It's not possible! From the first few minutes to like 40 hours later, it's that same damn song! Good to see ya. This is Shep from Gaming Introspection. Hey, if you enjoy this retrospective on Super Mario RPG, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you! Mario had never been in anything close to an RPG before, so this uncharted territory did a lot to generate excitement. For me, it was the first time being cognizant of the fact that the popularity of video game characters was enough to swell into other genres, sending fan-favorite characters into experiences they'd never seen before, and also introducing that same cast to others who may have always been role-playing fans first. The results were mostly great, with unexpected doses of humor and a very cool character who would tragically never reappear in any Mario game. But there were also some real misses that would have turned this great game into a legendary one had they been fixed. These are the hits and misses of Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. You know the term best of both worlds? That's what this game provides you with. It's a rare example of a game that successfully merges two genres which are quite polar opposite in many ways. Let's look at the RPG portion first. If you're experiencing this after playing any regular Final Fantasy game, then you'll feel at home. While the story is very family-friendly, it does try and encompass the whole "world is going to be doomed" theme that most role-playing games need to borrow in order to garner player motivation. There's a party of 3 characters, it's a turn-based battle mode where you have an infinite amount of time to make a decision, and characters have standard statistics like strength, speed, magic, and defense, which all improve after fighting enough battles and leveling up. The way things play out is convincing of standard RPGs. Numbers pop up all over the screen as damage is incurred or health is replenished. Characters can attack with a plethora of weapons that exude Nintendo-ness, from hammers to cymbals to frying pans to Mario himself. Or the party can use special moves that consume flower points.
instead of magic points. Although, interestingly, the party shares the amount of flower points, so you can't go too crazy with special moves. This system also makes you very motivated to explore the world and find extra flowers to increase your total stock. Defending, using items, and fleeing like a coward are also available, so every major staple of RPGs is present here. In future games, like the Paper Mario series and the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, the RPG elements were either toned down or thrown out altogether.
And while we're at it, let's hear a big shout out from all the hardcore fans of Paper Mario Sticker Star! Yeah! No? Anyone? Anyone at all? Right. Okay then.
But here, the genre standards are rock solid. While it's definitely a beginner's RPG, the stats and such do still matter. Geno will be your go-to for quick attacks, as his speed is the best, while you'll have to wait for most of the enemies to act before letting loose with Bowser and his sluggish gait. Peach has OP healing moves, Mallow is a weak marshmallow, but has many elemental spells, and speaking of which, elemental weaknesses apply to different foes, including bosses like Croco being susceptible to fire, or Bellome becoming paralyzed by thunder. And you have to at least have some basic common sense when deciding your attacks. Having Mario jump on spikes, or shoot fire at fireballs, for example, well, that's just dumb. There's also status effects that you can deliver onto enemies and have afflicted onto you, which do impact your decisions at times. Peach can put enemies to sleep or silence them, which even works on some bosses. However, you aren't spared the torment either, as you'll get turned into mushrooms or scarecrows, shiver in your plumber booties by getting scared, poisoned, and silenced. Complementing these battle system tropes, though, are action commands that you can use to increase the power or even the amount of attacks you land. Timing your button presses can give you critical hits most commonly, but can also give you multiple jump attacks, increased healing ability, or even instant kill powers. With practice, you can master the timing and routinely benefit from the bonus effects. It's definitely rewarding, and also very frustrating when you miss one after lots of time with the system. Jumping around the overworld in an RPG is almost unheard of, but it would be even more unheard of to not be able to jump in a Mario game. So you can much more freely explore the world, which has a lot more verticality and openness compared to a lot of fixed 2D towns and plains that most RPGs of the time were accustomed to. The world is littered with hidden things, like blocks with coins and items to jump on, including some within the towns you'll visit. Even hidden cameos like Link from Zelda: Link to the Past show up when you sleep at an inn. You nimbly advance through obstacles and hazards, and even dodge battles entirely by jumping away from enemies. Speaking of, there's no random battles. Encounters happen only when you contact enemies, much like in Chrono Trigger. So you never have to go into a battle blind, though you will still get ambushed at times. Building on this, many of the minigames, and even some plot pieces, incorporate the platforming skills and fast reflexes Mario games had been famous for. Highlights include the minecart, which requires quick jumping and abrupt turning in all of its Mode 7 glory, as well as the efficient use of turbo mushrooms for speed boosts. And the Mountain Hill Chase segment, where you're jumping on Sniffets trying to pursue the princess while barrels randomly roll down the cliffside. It's actually quite reminiscent of Donkey Kong.
Never mind. Here's a much better example of that.
Speaking of classic vids, you can even buy a Game Boy-like toy from this kid in Mushroom Kingdom and set high scores in this Space Invaders-style arcade game. An avalanche of divergent tasks await you. You can explore places outside of the field map and find rare collectibles, most notably the legendary fertilizer, which makes this ungodly beanstalk sprout through this geezer's chimney, allowing you to find Mario's ultimate weapon, a fat Koopa shell. Side quests abound, like buying and trading fireworks for a shiny stone, which then enables you to fight the toughest boss in the game. The fireworks themselves can even affect the ending. buy more of them to change the final kaboom that appears in the game's ending. Specters haunt Mario's sleep to make him go on a treasure hunt for invisible flags. Yoshi attempts to beat Boshi in this ridiculous rhythm race that I cannot win! I can't even pass the training exercise! Someone tell me what I'm doing wrong here! I'm alternating perfectly with the symbol and rhythm of the music! But that bastard Yoshi, he just stutter steps with supreme suckage and barely even moves! Oh. And speaking of bewildering failures, some rewards are just not worth the aggravation. Here's a simple frog coin that you can use to purchase some rare items. I'm trying to jump to it, but I just can't do it. I approach it from every side, every angle, fall and jump and fall and twist and turn and do it all again in a slightly different fashion until I expel rageful words that are unfit for YouTube. Look at this one. It should be a simple jump, but this lava just sends me right back. Thank God for cartoonish physics. I wonder if this is what made them think of Mario's reaction to landing in lava in Mario 64, which came out only a few months later. Still, it sucks.
So there's plenty here for fans of both genres, and I really think that this is one of the best attempts ever made for pleasing fans of two completely different backgrounds. Kudos!
This was so unexpected when I first played this game. Mario games hardly ever even had text in them, much less a script until now. So I expected the most dry, forgettable dialogue in any RPG ever. Damn, was I wrong! There are moments that are literally laugh out loud funny. Most of them revolve around Booster, a secondary antagonist that kind of pops up throughout the story and randomly inconveniences the heroes.
He's almost like Wario, except if he was even more insane and incoherent about the events that are occurring around him.
He makes the most ridiculous assumptions, has next to no common sense, and just seems to be in it for the thrill of experiencing chaos. You go after him, entering his own tower that he named after himself, in an effort to rescue Peach, who coincidentally landed there after Smithy's sword destroyed Bowser's Keep and sent Mario, Bowser, and Peach flying in different directions. There's a few ridiculous events that arise as you progress through this mystifying structure, including an absolutely random 8-bit Mario cameo. Okay, well, what was the point of that? This all culminates in a hilarious hide-and-go-seek game, where you need to keep Mario hidden behind the curtains as Booster sends his grunts to find you. It's also cool that your success or failure results in different outcomes. You either get an awesome stat-boosting amulet if you succeed, but if you're caught, you have to endure an extra boss fight. After being foiled, he runs off, setting in motion the exhilarating mountain chase I mentioned earlier. Booster keeps his stealing the princess to get married thing in motion as long as he can, with his entire motivation hinging on the promise of eating an entire wedding cake. And when he ends up making Peach cry, an emotion that is absolutely foreign to him, his best guess is that she must be leaking. He's totally out of his mind! The ceremony concludes with Mario attempting to find Peach's wedding gear that goes flying around the chapel after Mario and Bowser break in, the success of which either results in the classic hero gets a kiss from the fair damsel, to Booster or Bowser, or both, making out with the fat plumber, whose face apparently feels like sandpaper. Yeah. Another funny minion is this dodo bird, who you have to try and fool into thinking you're a statue by jumping out of the way as he pecks them. It's timed perfectly to this rhythmic composition, and your smile widens as the music helps you figure out the right timing. Please observe the orchestrative genius behind this segment. The mere concept is so outlandish, it makes you want to get into the developer's mind to figure out how they came up with this randomness. But it's also so well designed and put together. The music itself acts like a guide to help the player with their jump timing. There's consequences for failing too, similarly to Booster, as you'll have to endure another boss battle before the main encounter at the end of this segment, while you'll get a speed boosting feather if you prevail. Bowser, he captures the spotlight too. He's an absolute buffoon in this game, joining the party early on, desperate to reclaim his castle. He hams it up with a witty dialogue that shows a predictably narcissistic personality, but also a sensitive side of the villain that no one up to this point in the Mario saga ever would have expected. He shudders at the prospect of Mario finding out about his diminished power. I mean, Bowser was just a mean, fire-breathing bad turtle that Mario always fought against, and didn't have any hidden layers to him. In this game, he's more like Shrek than he is the king of the Koopas. He writes haikus, second guesses his own dialogue choices, wishes his former comrades the best of luck with their new lives as he embraces change. And as we said, might end up even kissing Mario at a sham wedding. But even if that doesn't happen, he accepts Mario's consolation after being ignored completely. It's not just the main cast either. Random villagers are given personalities and quips that differentiate them from bland NPCs of most games. Even compared to games today, they're better developed. This shopkeeper loses his mind when Mario jumps on the counters. And when Mushroom Kingdom is under attack by Shy Guys, that same clerk has the audacity to request proper amounts of coinage being left behind by any patrons, since he lacks the courage to man his station. At Merrymore, there's a young mushroom kid who desperately needs to take a piss. The game pretty much tells you in no uncertain terms. And sure enough, he can't take in the ceremony because his bladder just cries out, "No more!" 80-year-old geezers speed talk when you bring them items they want. Mushroom Kingdom toads show shameless greed upon finding lost coinage, and elders get tortured by enemies if you fail to give in to their demands. Of course, it's a Nintendo game, so the game of torture here is being tickled to death. But man, it's hilarious seeing more and more thugs go in there because Mario just keeps being a selfish prick. If you do this though, you get a single coin as a reward when you finally save him. But if you do the honorable thing and sacrifice your star right away, you get one of the best power-ups, boosting your flower points. So it's cool that they thought of changing the reward up based on how sadistic or kind-hearted the player wants to be. There's even crazy hidden things that take advantage of what players expect from RPGs, some of which are surprisingly hinted at being inappropriate. At the beginning of the game, you can barge into the princess's room and wow. First of all, what a boring room, right? It's basically a rectangle with a fireplace and a bed that looks like it's made for something much larger than a human. Anyway, you examine this nondescript area by the fireplace, and it says, "Found princesses." Huh? And then the housekeeper rushes at you and chastises you for this invasion of privacy. The princess herself can flare up at Mario too later on. I mean, yeah, I guess, what a creep. But come on, how was I to know that this white rectangle was a forbidden shape of indecency? And what the hell is it? The game never says. Was it just her diary? Undergarments that weren't put away correctly? What do you think this could be?
What? Peach says, stop peeking into other people's rooms. But I've already been in her room for the last 5 minutes. It says so, right there.
Is this like a secret entrance to her dark side bedroom? Is this where she switches with her evil twin? I don't even want to know anymore. Actually, since we're talking about impropriety, what in God's name were the developers thinking with this Valentina boss? She's a nasty, horrible, abusive, animal-hating woman with a queen complex. She spreads this lie that Milo's parents are on their deathbed, and then somehow convinces the people that this giant black dodo bird is the long-lost prince, who, for no reason, asks her to marry him just so she can usurp the throne. She just uses Dodo, though, forcing him to be her slave, performing every menial task imaginable. Just look at this repressed anger finally spilling over. Mario finally catches up to her to give her due punishment, so we enter the battle and...
What? Why is she like 20 feet tall? She looks only slightly taller than Mario on the field map. Is it supposed to be for us deep thinkers? Maybe it's like we see Valentina as she sees herself. She thinks she dwarfs every other life form in this world. We're just puny ants compared to her. So, the game transfers this line of thinking into an overwhelmingly huge sprite. Okay, well, maybe if we just kick her ass, it'll free herself of those delusions. My God! First, it was Luigi's protruding genitalia, and now there's jiggling in a game marketed towards children, ages 6 and up to be precise. And so I come back to the question of why the developers made her so huge for this battle scene. Well, I guess that's the answer. A very disturbing answer. Make the bosom very ample, but also enlarge her into a giant so it really pops. It's a horrifying, awful answer that will disturb my sleep, but there it is.
Peach's room, as we saw, is huge but bland. So let's look at a more extravagant room.
In the Marrymore Hotel, you can stay in different quarters, including a very expensive suite, by far the most costly hotel in the game, with its own private shower, in which Mario sings his own theme song. There's a terry cloth bathrobe he can't even wear because he's too fat, which is cute, and a bell for room service that you can actually take advantage of. But the thing I'm talking about is something even some old school players may have never found. In most RPGs, if you don't have the money to stay at the inn, it'll just flat out say you don't have enough cash. Like in Chrono Trigger, for example. In Mario RPG, if you decide you deserve to hang out and have an all-inclusive stay at this suite, living a life of luxury for 5 consecutive nights, you try to leave, and then the manager confronts Mario at the stairs and realizes Mario's broke. So you're forced to work as an employee at the inn until your debt is repaid.
This is just so unexpected and awesome.
You have to wait behind the desk for a while until guests appear, and when they do, you have to give them the whole tour of the room. It doesn't just skip by in 2 seconds. You actually have to work off the balance, which scales by how much debt you accrued. There's single mushroom people just wanting to splurge, couples ready to consummate their recent marriage at the Marymore Church, which talk incessantly, making Mario impatient. And check out Mario struggling with his muteness as he bounces around like a tripped out drug addict, trying to explain to the guests all the amenities they have available. He must be damn good with sign language, because you can earn mushrooms for tips, or even flower boxes for being nice to this old fungi dude. That's one of the most valuable items in the game, and you can get it by doing some honest work, which ironically only presented itself if you were dishonest in the first place. It's just amazing they'd even think of this. Square creates the most bizarre, fantastical world where people can stand on clouds, climb up 5-mile-high beanstalks, and make wishes come true on stars. But when it comes to the finances and debt repayments of the hotel industry, the game slaps you on the wrist and demands that you comply with the Mushroom Kingdom laws and statutes. That is awesome. Actually, inns in general have more variety than most RPGs. The Nimbusland Inn allows Mario to have different dreams when he pays an extra fee, and I laugh every time this merchant who lives in a volcano charges Mario 30 coins to rest, telling him, "I'll get everything ready for you." And then it cuts to Mario lying face down on some dusty wooden boxes in a volcano that's probably 50 degrees. And that's one of the most expensive inns in the game. Finally, Mallow has a very fun move called Psychopath. The spell's primary purpose is to show you the remaining health of an enemy, but if you time it right, you get to look inside the varied personas of every single enemy in the game. It gets addicting to find the most unique enemies and see what they're thinking. You get allusions to Donkey Kong's likeness when you investigate this big monkey. Some wooden humanoid carved enemies crave the meaning of life. Employees show their silent fury at how little they earn. Random ant samurai warriors are just living in the moment with their poignant thoughts. Peaceful-looking stars disclose a secret hatred towards an unknown entity, and buff, strong bosses that you'd think were brimming with confidence reveal the fear they have that these could very well be their last moments in this world. Some are just so ludicrous. In the climactic showdown with Exor, the huge sword that crashes into Bowser's Keep, reading its mind reveals that all it's thinking about is how it needs to mow the lawn sometime soon, while its mouth, it's suffering from isolation and loneliness. You can also use it to scan for weaknesses. Even the final boss of the game reveals some juicy details you can exploit. Sometimes, though, it's just a bad pun, or so nonsensical it's pathetic. But honestly, the fact that they included separate thoughts for every enemy in the game, differing even between the palette-swapped versions, has to be commended. There's a reason why Geno was among the most wanted characters for 2 decades in the Super Smash Bros. Universe. And we still haven't gotten him! Just a lousy Spirit Battle and Me costume that was repeated twice over.
Geno is just so bizarrely original. He doesn't even seem like a character that would belong in a Mario game.
Despite being basically a living doll a la Pinocchio, he's actually an alien life form from a distant realm with an unpronounceable name, taking the alias Geno for short. This guy rocks! He's much more serious than the other characters, providing excellent contrast to the rest of the manic personalities, and he gives the game what semblance it has of a story, explaining the importance of the Star Road and Smithy's destruction of said road, which is preventing wishes from coming true across the entire world. He's also a blast to use in battle. This guy is the fastest, with amazing attack power, the best overall stats, and some amazing skills, like a magic wand that you can charge up to really kick some ass, a remarkable offense and defense buff spell for those tougher encounters, a self-transforming cannon shot that obliterates enemies, and his signature move, Geno Whirl. that with the right timing, instantly kills any regular enemy in the game. Keep this in mind when we get to the misses next time though. Even his regular attacks are badass. He has hook punch combos that look kinda like the boxing attacks in Wii Sports, and various weapons that shoot bullets of increasing size out of his fingers and elbows. He's invaluable in any conflict, because he can quickly wipe out regular enemies while boosting players in tougher boss fights.
I just can't believe Nintendo never got around to using him in any other game, in any capacity. And don't give me that, oh, Square developed him, so it must have everything to do with copyright.
Cloud was made by Square. Has he ever been on a Nintendo system before? On a Nintendo game with Nintendo characters? Yeah, that argument holds no water. Geno is amazing! I wish he would at least show up as an Easter egg or an NPC in something like Paper Mario. But alas, we're still waiting for the Geno Renaissance to occur. But here's what I don't get. Once you save the world, Geno gets surrounded by the stars you've been collecting throughout the journey, transferring himself out of the doll, allowing him to revert to his original energy form as he ascends to the heavens.
He dies! Kind of. Did this death affect you as much as Aerith in Final Fantasy VII? I'm sorry. That wasn't even in good taste. There's no way you could compare the... Yeah, I apologize.
Anyway, he leaves the lifeless Geno doll behind and soars up into the sky. And this is all accompanied by the expected triumphant music and spectacle, but then this happens!
Was that the last act of Geno? Was this his true purpose? To fly into the atmosphere and then sacrifice himself to make this D so that the game could truly be over? What kind of a last act is that?
At least when Aerith died, she did so summoning holy magic to battle Meteor. Geno was ready to relax on vacation, but then realized the programmers didn't know how to end the game, or they didn't know how to goddamn spell the word end. So he ends it all just to create this D and some Mario lullaby music.
And this is why Geno never returned in any other game. He died honorably, making sure that this game and all of its players could have that finality moment. Rest in peace, old friend. With all the groundwork here that has remained in the spiritual successors to Mario RPG, it obviously got a lot right. So, what's wrong with it? Well, stay tuned, gamers, and you'll uncover the hidden flaws of a game that probably still shines unblemished in your memories. But it will still be fun, I promise. Well, fun for you, anyway. Ugh. I'll admit, I have a personal bias when it comes to music. I'm a huge fan of video game music. But when there's a gaming experience that I would like to embrace wholeheartedly, but 50% of the music is one song, and it's the worst song in the game, easily, then it almost completely wrecks the entire experience for me.
Now, before I get into this, I gotta say that for the most part, the music in Super Mario RPG shines gloriously. For the love of God, it was composed by Yoko Shimomura of Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy fame. Much respect for her. There's some amazing atmospheric tunes, like the Forest Maze melody, where Geno makes his first appearance. And some very catchy mixes for the mini games like the river ride. And the minecart race. The most memorable example of this audio gratification is actually partly controlled by you. Once you complete the training stages at Tadpole Pond, Todovsky, the composer, plays out the entire finished compilation that you discovered during your exploration of the game in 16-bit orchestral glory. It goes from the stark, harsh one-note sounds to this.
But it gets even better, because for the last piece, you get to compose it yourself by jumping on the tadpoles in any order you want, which is then transferred to the orchestral theme. But then there's the battle music. The main encounter riff in any RPG is so important because it's the song you're gonna hear for dozens of hours. It's gonna crop up hundreds of times. The most prevalent song in existence.
So, you want something that gets you ready to fight and boosts your energy without being too repetitive. Let's investigate some of the best battle musics. Check these out! Of course, we've got Final Fantasy VII. Chrono Trigger. Kingdom Hearts. Virtually any Persona game. Let's go. Fire Emblem. My God, I could go on and on.
The point is, although they all have very different tones and pace, they all serve the same purpose, for firing you up and boosting the energy. So this is Mario, and that's a good sign. I mean, it's gonna be lively and energetic and boppy tune, right? What we got was this. No! Yeah! Yeah! No! God, it's vomit-inducingly bad! It doesn't matter if you whistle it or if you hum it or do anything with it, it's just the same repetitive goddamn melody and it just does not stop!
I don't even know what else to say! Let's play it over the action of any other RPG fight and see if you think it sounds acceptable in any of these situations. Here's what it would be like playing Final Fantasy VII. Isn't that atrocious? Here's something even worse. Imagine if it was the battle music for the remake. Fine, I'll grant you that Final Fantasy VII is a much more serious setting and theme, so maybe that's a poor example. But even with goofier characters, it would still make you plug your ears. Let's look at Chrono Trigger again. That isn't any better. Not at all! It'd be even worse in a serious, actual full-scale war scenario. Can you imagine an all-out war with hundreds of Golden Deer House soldiers drawing blood, clashing their weapons and shouting, "For Claude!" and all that stuff with this music to motivate them?
And I know, you're saying, come on, it's a Mario game. The battle music is supposed to be lighthearted and casual.
You can make that argument, but this theme just drones on every time you start the fight. And when you get used to the battles, the fights are only about 20 seconds long. So you hear the first and worst part over and over. And don't tell me it's because all the battle music just happens to be bad. Must just be a thematic choice by Nintendo. Well, in Monstro Town, there's a hidden Easter egg boss fight, which is actually one of the toughest in the game, Culex, which is a hidden Final Fantasy boss and a direct reference to the series. And just listen to the gorgeousness of this music! It kicks our asses as badly as this boss does. It's so good.
But that music is only good because it's a remix of a Final Fantasy song. So the Mario music, well, that stuff is just gonna have to be goofy, you might be thinking. To that, I say, no way!
Check out the final boss music. Now that's battle music. It's a bit edgy, a bit dark, but still energetic and fun. And it's in the same game, so don't tell me they couldn't have composed something with a bit more urgency and length.
And there's so many better options from the actual Mario universe.
Remember Super Mario Bros. 3? When you fight the Hammer Bros? Check this out. Even simply playing this raw 8-bit theme would be an improvement. But let's crank it up to modern standards. Arrange it a bit like they did in Super Smash Bros. Add a bit of length, and you have a kick-ass RPG Mario battle theme. Here's an example of what the battles would be like if this was done right. Not only is it more aggressive and peppy with more variety, it actually has something to do with Mario! The iconic Mario melody from 1985 is remixed in many wonderful ways throughout the game. So why didn't they keep that train of thought going when developing the other pieces? If I had the know-how, I would hack into all the Mario RPG carts and reprogram the battle music to something more than this.
It's not just that it's a poor battle theme, it just doesn't fit in anywhere. I can't think of a situation which would warrant this pathetic excuse for a song. Where would this feel natural? Maybe if you're, I don't know, playing pin the tail on the donkey? Building a house of cards? I don't know! It sucks. That's it. Gamers, seriously, if you know of a worse battle theme than Super Mario RPGs, please inform me, because I haven't found one in the over 25 years since. This, it's just bloody awful.
My party's dead. Oh, thank God.
Now, Mario RPG, it wasn't going to be designed as a super hardcore, grinding, focused epic that required extensive knowledge of character strengths and weaknesses, elemental affinities, equipment management, crafting. I get that. For a lot of the players, this was the first go-around for them, so I can understand why they didn't design it to be too difficult. Especially as a big percentage of its audience was 10 years old or younger, like I was at the time.
But for the other half of the crowd, the masses that were already pretty in tune with how RPGs work, there's just not enough challenge in the battles to make it tough. Especially when you get used to timing your attacks and defenses. Timing would have been a new concept for most old school RPG players, but look at this. Once you get it down, you literally take 0 damage from lots of attacks, including boss attacks, and you can defeat enemies in 1, maybe 2 hits at the most in regular battles. And it's not like the window for this timing is tight to the 100th of a second. You've got a good grace period to tap and pull it off. This isn't a matter of boosting your damage by like 20% or something either. These timed presses double your offense, and taking 0 damage? It's just dumb! Enemies miss attacks constantly. Some enemies start the battle asleep or confused, and Bowser makes some of the monsters piss themselves. unique elemental attacks that you cannot block sometimes still do nothing. There's attacks that cover the screen and look really threatening, but they do very little damage. Even Culex, the hidden Ultra Boss, can't put a scratch on Peach. Your special moves, in contrast, are glorified beyond comprehension using this system. Geno has a boost move, in which he increases a player's offense. But if you time it and press just as the boost ends, you also get your defense buff too, with no extra charge time, or tricky timing, or flower point cost, or anything. So now, your timed hits do even more damage, you can withstand anything, you're a friggin' tank! And holy hell, you're just completely hacking the game! Actually, you truly become a cheater as you master more of Geno's moves. Once you pinpoint the timing of Geno Whirl, which will take you maybe 10 battles or so, he instantly annihilates anything.
Did you see that damage? Holy crap, that's a hell of a lot of 9s!
Ugly demonic troll thing? Dead. Huge tree stump in a volcano? Dead. Everything just dies! The only drawback is it does take a lot of your magic flower points, so you can't spam it. Unless you just buy a bunch of syrups with your easy to find coins, and then it becomes a non-issue. There's also these bonus flowers you can get whenever you kill an enemy, and they are huge bonuses. You can fully heal with an HP max flower, buff your attack or defense, and get these once again flowers that give you another turn instantly. In some cases, you'll get once again flowers continuously. The enemy can't even act. You just roll through the entire lineup without a scratch.
You are so OP in this game, I swear!
Want even more evidence? You can get tons of coins from enemies like these fake chests and thieves. Also during battle, if you score this lucky flower, you get a chance to roll and double your coins or experience points. That could end up being huge. Coins in general are so easy. There's blocks that contain Big 10 coins that you can bop over and over. And items are not expensive at all to buy. Even more ridiculous, certain run-of-the-mill items are gold mines. These bottles of pure water can kill ghosts in one hit. Yeah, one hit instead of the 2 it would normally take. Instead, sell the damn things for 75 coins each. There's points in the game where you can just grind tons of experience. Like here, this dry bones enemy always respawns, and it's always the exact same huge group of enemies. So I could just rain down thunderbolts over and over and quickly level up. Then there's invincibility stars, which work like in the classic Mario games, meaning you touch an enemy and it dies. But here, you're getting hundreds of experience points with each bonus star. They show up constantly. You just instantly level up multiple times over. Alright, enough of that easy crap. Damn, look at all these bad guys. Wait. My exploratory senses tell me there's something hidden here.
What? I can get another one? What the hell? Oh, you know what? I am just really frustrated at how easy this game is making it, but I'm gonna buy it. Just to prove my point. Just how easy can they make this game?
Also, when you level up, your stats increase like they do in any other RPG. And you can also choose which of your skills to boost, like hit points, magic, or strength, which is a cool concept. But there's always one bonus that easily gives you the best deal each time. Here, you could get a small buff of like 2 stat points for your strength or magic, or you could boost your hit points by 9.
Did the programmers think that gamers were incapable of doing kindergarten level math? I mean, would you rather pick 10 stat increases or 2? What kind of sense does that make?
Thankfully, there's still some tough boss clashes that make me try at least. I'm fighting this mutant demon thing, and I'm actually getting my ass kicked. Oh, I gotta use my last precious full recovery, the Caro Cola. It hurts to part with it, but it must be done.
What?
Freebie? I got a freebie? Yeah, there it is. It's still there, in my inventory. That's right. On top of all the hand-holding we've already dissected, upon using items, sometimes it'll say, get a freebie, meaning you used an item, but actually you didn't. And you magically got a new one to replace the one you just used. Really? Does the game seriously have to babysit us this much? It eliminates any tension that there might have been.
That'd be like if you were going shopping with your kid and they ask for a candy, and so you give them the money to buy the candy, but then the money just magically reappears in your wallet. So you give them money to get another candy, and then another, and before long they're just spoiled, and their teeth are falling out, and their gums are being ravaged by gingivitis because you just kept getting freebies, and it really didn't matter how much money you spent.
Honestly, the only legitimately difficult fights I ever found in this game, and I'm talking about like even when I was 10 years old, were the Culex fight with multiple crystals that have different attacks and powers, and the very final boss fight with Smithy, who can transform into many things, including a cool looking tank that shoots insta-kill magnum bullets. Other than that, there's just not really much challenge, unless you handicap yourself and never equip any new items. But that's just boring.
And no one in their right mind wants to see Mario saving the world without a shirt on. Even if you discarded your equipment, you can still Geno whirl yourself to victory.
Some segments are woefully constructed when it comes to building up adversity and plot tension. The fourth star is found on Star Hill. This, you'd think, would be a huge part of the game's plot, and teeming with some gargantuan guardian star spirit that has lashed out at the world because of the disrepaired state of the Star Road. But nope, nothing. It's just a random map. You wander around, touching flowers to open up gates, with insignificant enemies that don't even look like they belong here, peppering the landscape, which you never have to fight. And there's no boss. You literally just walk through the area, move upwards, and there it is. Just sitting there. So you collect the star and move on, with no suspense, no battle after you get the star, nothing. It's just a brutally easy chapter of the game.
Similarly to Chrono Trigger, this game is begging for a higher difficulty setting. And now that I'm on the topic, there were very few RPGs that had any options for changing the difficulty, which seems very counterintuitive.
Let's look at games from other genres, like The Last of Us. It has 5 very distinct difficulties. You can not only change how much Joel gets hurt, but also how many supplies he can find in a given area, and what information is displayed on the screen, like remaining bullets. If you just want the story, you can definitely choose easy and enjoy the characters and environments. Conversely, the grounded mode is almost an instant death mode with no visual indicators. But it's there, and if you get amazingly good at the game and want to keep getting value out of it, that makes it really viable. But in an RPG, if the game is just too easy, it's always going to be easy for 30 hours. And if it's hard, that's even worse, because then you're going to be grinding for experience for like 60 hours. In both situations, a poorly designed standard difficulty can suck tons of fun out of the game. It's the one genre of game that should have difficulty settings. It wasn't until fairly recently, with games like Persona 5, that RPGs finally started giving more customizable experiences. And it's not like this is tough to do.
All you'd have to do is program it so that all the numbers and formulas for attacking and getting hurt, they're either scaled for your advantage or disadvantage. But I digress. If you've watched any of my main content, you know I digress way too much. But it really is a big problem.
Why does Luigi constantly get the shaft in Mario games? Even to this day, he's naturally mocked and ridiculed. The only series he stars in centers on his easy-to-frighten demeanor. The treatment he gets in this game is probably why he developed the death stare reaction when he's alongside you in Mario Kart 8.
In Mario RPG, no word of a lie. The only place that Luigi appears is in the instruction booklet. No joke. He introduces you to the characters, controls, and even says that he's sitting this one out.
The very next Mario game, which was Mario 64, didn't even mention him at all. There was absolutely nothing. Toad, Princess Peach, even Yoshi was there. It was a horribly misfigured polygonal abomination, but it was Yoshi. The only indirect message we get, which I think is from Luigi, is found on Star Hill. While checking out some of these wishes, you find this one. I wanna be a great plumber, like my brother Mario. That has to be Luigi. So at least he's alive somewhere, I guess. However, the fact remains that he doesn't physically manifest at any juncture.
But I have a theory. Not a game theory, because I'll never be that popular, but bear with me.
There's an invisible person in this obscure corner of the Mushroom Kingdom castle. If you talk to them, they chime in with commentary and advice, and it switches all the time following the plot. Because of the three-quarter view and lack of camera control, this character is never seen. The game gives absolutely no hints. No visible shoes, clothing, not even any real speech cues that would clue us in as to who it could be. They never introduce themselves, but we can deduce that someone who knows so much about what's going on in the plot would need to be a person who, 1, has a vested interest in Mario and the party, and 2, may be skilled enough to follow along, perhaps cowardly lurking in the background every time the party gets to a new place. Also, after escaping her own room, as we saw earlier, the princess nonchalantly chucks her parasol at this person, as if he doesn't exist.
Which is exactly the kind of behavior that anyone would expect a stranger to exhibit when interacting with the walliest of wallflowers, Luigi. That's what I like to think anyway, because I always have a soft spot for that underest of underdogs, the invisible man, which is what I feel like some days. Respect Luigi!
Anyway, the disappointment festers, because doesn't it make sense that he would be a great natural fit for an RPG party? Some of you may comment on the fact that he wouldn't have too much differentiation from Mario, and that is a fair argument, especially since at this stage, he had never investigated ghost mansions with plunger apparatuses. And even after this game, they cloned him for games like Super Smash Bros., and his main feature will always still just be a Player 2 version of Mario. but they could have done something with him. In Luigi and Mario's Superstar Saga games, they share some similar moves and weapons to be sure, but they also have their own abilities that make them unique. If he were implemented in the original, maybe he's like stronger than Mario, but occasionally runs away from battle, making the party size shrink. Or maybe if you encounter a ghost enemy, he like just bails out and has to sit out for 3 battles. Something! Just put him in a random villager's driveway. Have him sitting on top of this volcano. Just include him in some meaningful way. Please! And no, before you mention it, this 1/8 of an inch sprite in the ending does not count.
I would truly love to enjoy Mario RPG as much as many other gamers do. Its script and humor alone are worth revisiting every few years.
Actually, it paved the way for the ludicrously funny future entries, and its presentation and variety make each segment lively and fun to play. But when almost 50% of the music is that awful battle theme mess, along with the battles themselves becoming too easy too quickly, it loses its shine just a little. And having Luigi's only appearance as a microscopic sprite leading the victory parade doesn't help either. Nevertheless, let's remember this game fondly for the rich tradition of Mario RPGs that it inspired.
Thank you for joining me again at Gaming Introspection. I hope you're doing well, and I hope we can revisit our cherished games once again in the near future. Take care.